Hello everyone, I am Dr. N.K. Vidyalakshmi, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, School of Computing, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. The course name is Programming for Problem Solving and the course code is U20 CRC J01 and the topic for today's lecture is Evolution of Programming Languages. So the agenda for today's lecture is human-computer interaction, programming language, timeline of the programming languages, problem solving with programming, algorithm, flowchart, and pseudocode. So first we'll discuss about the human-computer interaction. We human interact with each other using a natural language like English. But when we want to solve a problem and that using a computer, this human has to interact with the computer. So this cannot be possible by using a natural language because a natural language is understood only by the human. Computer is an electronic machine and it understands only ones and zeros. That is, it is understanding only the high signal and a low signal. So this machine language or this ones and zeros is very difficult for a human to understand. So it is more cryptic in nature and it contains lot of codes. So it is very difficult for a human to understand this code language. So human can understand only a natural language like English. So what is the bridging gap between these two? There comes the programming language. A computer always needs to be given the instructions in a programming language that it understands. So next we'll see what is meant by a programming language. A programming language is an artificial language that controls the behavior of the computer. So this is defined through some syntactics and semantic rules. That is always a particular program contains set of rules for writing that program. And it is used to facilitate the communication uh, about the task of organizing and manipulating the information. So this is used to express the algorithms precisely. Next is a program. So program is a sequence of instructions which are written in an organized way to solve a particular problem. So this program is always having a controlled behavior. It always controls the behavior of the machine. So here we could see some programming lines. So these are written with particular syntactic rules and this is an example for a C program. Next, we'll see about the types of programming languages. So programming languages can be divided into two types. One is low-level language, another one is the high-level language. So in the low-level language, this is more easy for a machine to understand. That is, it is more written for specifically for a machine. So low-level languages were used initially at the beginning stage of the programming languages before evolving those languages. So these were used to communicate between the human and the machines. It is a very basic thing and it contains mostly some coding level of language. So examples for this low level languages, machine language and the assembly language. Next comes the high level language. The high level language is more related to humans. So you can easily, the human can easily understand this high level languages and it is always written to facilitate this humans. So the types of high level languages are object oriented language and procedural language. So next we'll see about the timeline of programming and languages. So initially, machine language was used to communicate between the human and the computer. So it started in the year 1818. So after that, they found that machine language is very difficult for a human to understand. So they developed some language which has some instructions based language, which is known as assembly level language. Next is uh, next high level languages came to exist in year 1950. Like in 1954, Fortran was introduced, and in the year 1960, 64, basic language was introduced. Next is during the early 1970s, Pascal, C, and structural query language were all introduced. And during the year 1983, so the advanced version of the C was introduced. And in the early 90s, Haskell, Python, Java, PHP, everything was introduced. And latestly, we have languages like C Sharp, Go, Kotlin, and Swift. So the languages will be keep evolving when the time moves on, and we will get new versions of these older languages. So next we'll see about problem solving. So what is meant by a problem? So problem is defined as a question or something involving some doubt, uncertainty, difficulty, and the situation whose solution is not immediately obvious. Next is problem solving. So when there is a problem, we always try to solve the problem. So it is a process of transforming the description of a problem into some solution by using some knowledge and strategies. So we try to solve the problem by our knowledge and some particular way of thinking. So let us see how these problems can be solved with thinking. So this problem solving can be done by either creative thinking or it can be critical thinking. Some problems can be solved by creative thinking and some others can be solved by using critical thinking. Let us see what is this creative thinking. So creative thinking is a challenge or the opportunity in a imaginative way. Say for example, in this case, the problem is to move this objects, but one person has an completely different idea compared to others, where he tries to convert this object into a roller like thing, and he tries to move this. So this is a creative way of thinking. So this is more imaginative and it is completely different from the traditional way of thinking. So this rephrases the problem faced and come up with a new response for that particular problem. So this thinking is more generative and it is non-judgmental and it can be expansive also. So with the use of creative thinking, lot of new ideas can be generated. Next, we'll see about this critical thinking. So critical thinking is the one by which we are trying to solve the problem using some intellectual skills and the activities. So whatever skills we have learned through our experience, so that skills are used to solve the particular problem. So this is a more disciplined way of thinking when compared to that of a creative thinking, where it is an imaginative way of thinking. So this think and access the information more comprehensively. And it is analytical and it can be judgmental and it is more selective. It's not expansive, it is selective. It allows the programmer in making some choices. So next we'll see about the uh, how this problem can be solved with the computer. When you have a problem, this problem cannot be directly converted into a program and given to a computer. So it involves directly if we are giving the program, it is a little difficult step. So what we have to do is we can first write some steps. Okay, so the problem can be written with some smaller steps through which we can solve the problems. So this problem is written with smaller steps. It is very easy for converting that smaller steps into a program. So this algorithm, that smaller steps in which that problem has been written, the sequence is known as algorithm. This algorithm is after that converted into a program, and that program is given to a computer. By this way, this problem can be solved in a much more easier way than directly writing it into a program. So next we'll see about the steps which are involved in problem solving. The first step is algorithm. So writing an algorithm is nothing but it is a step-by-step method of solving the problem. So we write this algorithm in a more general way of writing with the normal English. So we write with the steps. What is the first step we have to do, second step, third step, like that. We write the algorithm in sequence of steps. Next one is a flow chart. So this is written with English, and if I want to convert that into a diagrammatic representation, as we know that a diagrammatic representation is much more easier way to convey the information. In that case, we can use this flow chart. So when the steps are written more in a diagrammatic way, it is known as a flow chart. And we follow some notations for this flow chart. And pseudocode. Pseudocode is a one which is similar to that of a programming code, but it is not exactly the program. Okay, so we cannot directly run the pseudocode on a computer. So this is similar to that of a program. So it resembles a program, but it is not exactly the particular program. So we don't need to write a strict syntax for this pseudocode. So next is a programming language. So this is executed by the computer. So you have to strictly write the program with correct syntax. So this is the programming last step which is given to the computer. So next we see about the algorithm. Algorithm is a roadmap of the program to be written and before actually writing the code. So algorithm is normally written with English like language. So we are writing in more general way. So we are writing the problem with more general way in steps. So it is a step-by-step method for solving a problem or doing a task. So next we'll see about the properties of an algorithm. So algorithm should always be a finite one. So finite one means it should never go infinite. That is, it has to terminate it. When we start an algorithm, it has to be stopped somewhere. It should not be an infinite one. Next one, it is a complete. So a program algorithm is written to solve a problem, and we have to get a solution from that algorithm. Next one is correct. So the algorithm which we are writing should be giving a correct solution. So next we'll see about the rules of writing an algorithm. So it should be consistent and it should have a well-defined input and the output. So we do not use any syntax for writing this specific algorithm. We should not write any specific rules for writing the algorithm. Next one is an example for an algorithm. So we want the computer to print the numbers from 1 to 20. This is our problem. So how we are going to get the solution for this problem? So we are going to write in steps. Step 1 will be the starting. Step 2, so we are going to mention the numbers in terms of x. So x is initialized as 0. Then we are incrementing the value of x by 1. Incrementing is nothing but we are just adding x with 1. Next, we are printing the value of x. Then we are checking the condition. If x is less than 20, then go back to step 3. So that means when the value of x is less than 20, until then we have to repeat these steps. That is, increment the value, print, and then go to the step 3. So these 3 steps will be repeated until the value of x is going beyond the 20. So when it reaches 20, it just comes out of this loop and it will be stopping. Next is drawing the flow charts. Flow chart is a diagrammatic representation of the algorithm. So while drawing the flow chart, we have to follow some notations. So this flow chart illustrates the sequence of operations to be performed. So each step is represented by different symbols. We use a particular symbols for each and every step. So this symbol contains a short description of the process. So the symbols are always connected by the arrows and it will be always flowing from up to down. So it is why we use this flow chart is this is when we represent an algorithm in a diagrammatic way, it is more easy to understand. So what are all the steps which are there? What are all the notations which are there for the flowchart symbols? So the first one is the terminator. So this is represented with a rounded box. So this is used for always used for starting and then stop. Okay, so begin and end will always be represented with the rounded box. Next is a process. If I want to represent a process, then it has to be represented with a rectangular box. And when we connect these the symbols, we have to always use an arrow mark. Next is a decision box. A decision box is used to split the flow chart into multiple parts. So that is, if we are checking some condition, in that case, if the condition is yes or we need to go back or yes or no, that decision can be used here. Next is the input and output. So we use a parallelogram for representing an input statement and the output statement. Next is a subprogram. So it is written with a rectangular box with lines at the end. So this is a subprogram is nothing but it is a small program which is written along with the main program. So let us have some example for a flow chart. So the same algorithm is written with a diagrammatic representation here. So we are first writing the step as start. So for the start, we are using a rounded box here and initialize x is equal to 0. It is nothing but a process. We used a rectangular box here and we are incrementing the value of x by 1. In that case, we are using a rectangular box. So x is equal to x plus 1. Next is print x. Print x is an output statement. So that has to be represented in a parallelogram. Next, if x is less than 20, then go to the step 3. So we are deciding in this case. So we are checking whether the value of x is less than 20. So in this case, if the value of x is less than 20, we have to go to the step. So that is represented with this arrow mark. And if this condition is attained and this condition is satisfied, and if this is not satisfied, we have to come out of this loop. So when it is, it goes to these 3 steps and it will be repeated as an iterative steps. And when it reaches this value of 20, in that case, this decision will be no, and so it comes out of the loop. So it will stop. So always we have to start and then we have to stop. For these two, we have to use the rounded box symbol For the process, we use a rectangular box. For input and output, we use a parallelogram. And for decision, we use a diagonal box. And to connect all these blocks, we use arrows. Next is the pseudocode. A pseudocode is a simpler version of the programming code which is written in a plain English before it is written as in a specific language. So we write a pseudocode to perform a specific task. So there is no strict syntax for writing a pseudocode. It always focuses on programming details rather than the syntax of a programming language. So it rather focus on programming logic. So an example for this. So we have the same problem here, printing the numbers from 1 to 20. So for that I have written algorithm and what is the pseudocode. So we use some keywords for here. Let's say begin, set x is equal to 0, label x is equal to x plus 1, print x if. So this condition, so here we have checked that the condition here. So we need not write the whole sentence here. Instead, we use some statements like words. So if x is less than 20, then go to label 1, else exit, stop. So this is an example for a pseudocode. Thank you.